Welcome to the John Clarence Gomez Show. Today, let's talk about the color revolution around the world. Most color revolutions are funded by the United States of America. Did you know why the CIA and the US funded this revolution? Like in Ukraine, the Orange Revolution, and Georgia, the Rose Revolution, and Yugoslavia, the overthrow of anti-imperialist President Slobodan Milosevic. Why the US loves to overthrow this government? Because they are leftists, protectionists, and socialists. And I know the group that trained these non-violent revolutions, they are the group that trained non-violent revolutions. The name of this organization is Canvas. Canvas is an non-government organization that trains non-violent revolution that are funded by the United States of America. Like in the 2011, the Egyptian Revolution. In 2004, in Ukraine, when the Orange Revolution began, the US funded Viktor Yushchenko, was a US puppet that the US wants him to become the president of Ukraine against for Russia Viktor Yanukovych. This color revolution in Georgia, Mikhail Saakashvili, he was funded by America, most pro-US. He hates Russia, and when Saakashvili became president of Georgia, he privatized industry. The United States of America supported this capitalist regime that destroyed the poor people. So this is the reason why I don't support this color revolution. Like in the Philippines, in 1986, the People Power Revolution led by Corazon Aquino is also a US funded, because at that time the United States of America wants to overthrow Marcos, and the US government funded the Corazon Aquino 1986 presidential campaign to overthrow the Marcos regime. For me, Cory Aquino is not a good president. Cory Aquino makes the Philippines third world. Did you know, under Marcos, the Philippines is a first world country. We are richer We are the richest than Japan and Singapore and South Korea. But when these US funded leaders like Cory Aquino became president of the Philippines become third world because Cory Aquino adopts protectionism. He creates a law, a constitution that forbids foreigners to own business in the Philippines. Only 40% of foreigners and 60% of Filipinos. Many oligarchs in the Philippines are yellow. They love Cory Aquino. Like the Ayala family and the C family. They are the number one business owners in the Philippines. They own malls, they own condominiums, they own supermarkets, and etc. And let's talk about the other color revolution. Let's talk again Ukraine. When Yushchenko became president of Ukraine, Yushchenko cuts welfare for the poor. He adopts a neoliberal policy that makes Ukraine a capitalist nation and makes the poor poorer and makes the rich richer. So for me, I'm an anti-imperialist. I hate imperialists. I stand with anti-imperialist leaders like Putin and Xi Jinping. But in Venezuela, I really hate Venezuela leaders because Venezuela socialism is very authoritarian. For me, if you want a good socialism, adopt democratic socialism like in Denmark. And Norway. Because in Denmark and Norway, democratic socialism is very good because democratic socialism provides the people freedom, to the people and welfare for the poor. But in Venezuela, in Maduro's Venezuela, this is the reason why I hate Maduro, because Nicolas Maduro is an authoritarian and corrupt socialist. For me, he is an evil man. But in Bolivia, I love the president of Bolivia, Evo Morales. Evo Morales is an democratic socialist, but I really love him because Evo Morales makes Bolivia the most fastest growing economy in South America. I love Evo Morales. This is the reason why democratic socialism works than authoritarian socialism. But today in Bolivia, the CIA wants to overthrow the democratic socialist and anti-imperialist regime of Evo Morales. The US government supported Carlos Mesa as their president. The US government wants Evo Morales to resign and replaced by a neoliberal president like Carlos Mesa. This is the reason why we must hate the USA, because the US government wants to overthrow many left-wing and some far-right regimes to adopt a neoliberal. Like in like in the Philippines, Ferdinand Marcos is an third positionist. He was a far right, but he is a third positionist, and I really loves him. Marcos nationalized industries to fight against communism and the oligarchs. Not only Marcos, but also in Portugal, the Estado Novo, the US government overthrows the fascist third positionist regime in Portugal to create a neoliberal Portugal. This is the reason why I love fascist Portugal, because I'm not a fascist, but I love fascist Portugal because fascist Portugal or Estado Novo is a pro-poor. Their government adopts corporatism, or means that the government must provide welfare to the nation. This is the reason why I love Salazar. Antonio de Oliveira Salazar, the Prime Minister of Portugal. Many Western media hates him because he is a fascist, but I like him. But the US government overthrew him through Carnation Revolution. Carnation Revolution was the first color revolution created by the imperialist United States of America. They overthrew a third positionist, anti-capitalist, anti-communist regime of Salazar. This is the reason why I hate imperialism of the America. Because America is a neoliberal, plutocratic state. And let's talk about the Iraq. In Iraq, in 2003, the US government creates war in Iraq. The Iraq War. The imperialist US government overthrow Saddam Hussein by funding Islamists. They fund Islamist terrorists to overthrow Saddam Hussein. This is the reason why we must hate America. I'm not hate America. I love America. I love the American people, but I hate their foreign policy, because their foreign policy is pro-war. For me, as a citizen of the world, I really hate war, because we don't need war. We need peace and freedom and liberty to the world. So this is the reason why we must encourage the United States to stop their interventionist policy. I'm a #1 fan of Ron Paul. Ron Paul is an American politician who opposes American imperialism. He hates US military intervention in the world. And today in Syria, the US also create a war in Syria. This is called the Syrian Civil War. The Syrian Civil War was a war that the US funded ISIS to overthrow their secular government of Bashar al-Assad. This is the reason why I support Bashar al-Assad. And I really support him, and I believe that the Assad government is winning the war. I stand with you, President Bashar al-Assad. Because the Western media portrays him as a killer. For me, he is not a killer. Bashar al-Assad is helping the minority in Syria, like the Arab Christians and the Shia Muslim in Syria. Not only the Christian and Shia Muslim, but also the Druze community in Syria. This is the reason why the people of the world must love Bashar al-Assad. He is a secularist. He respects the Christian, because I'm a Christian, I'm a Catholic, and many Catholics in Syria and many Catholics and other Christians in Syria was killed by ISIS. The US funded ISIS to kill minority like Christian, Shia Muslim, and Druze in Syria. Yes, the US create this war. They fund ISIS to create a war in Syria. And now in Iran. In Iran, the US wants to overthrow the Islamic government of Iran. The US is funding MEK, or the People's Mujahideen of Iran, or in Iranian Mujahideen Ekal. The MEK is a terrorist organization. They murdered an American citizen in 1970s. Their current leader is Mariam Rajavi. The US supporting this group today. The MEK created an event in Paris and Albania called Free Iran Rally. This rally, there are many politicians attend this rally, like Rudy Giuliani, John Bolton, and former New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson. Let's talk about color revolutions again. The Center for Applied Non-Violent Action and Strategies, or CANVAS, was funded by Sergei Popovic. Popovic was a member of OTPOR. OTPOR is an US funded youth organization to overthrow the anti-imperialist regime of Slobodan Milosevic. The US gave them an spray to create vandalism in the streets, anti-Milosevic vandalism. The US funded OTPOR to create poster against Milosevic. the NED, the National Endowment Fund for Democracy, NEOCON, and the Neocon International Republican Institute. The International Republican Institute was headed by John McCain. John McCain is an U.S. Senator and neocon. He loves to make wars in the Middle East, like Syria and Iraq and Iran. And do you know that the Otpor has not only in Serbia, the Otpor was expanded in many countries like Georgia. In Georgia, Otpor, the name of Otpor, the Otpor in Serbia is called K-Mava. K-Mava, or in Georgian, Enough. K-Mava is a George Soros funded youth organization to overthrow pro-Russian government of Edward Shevardnadze. And in Ukraine, PORA is an youth organization that supports Viktor Yushchenko. They created Orange Revolution to overthrow the pro-Russian government of Leonid Kuchma. And in Belarus, in Russia, this is the most failed Otpor. Yes, in Belarus and Russia, the Otpor in Belarus is called Subir. Subir is a youth organization in Belarus funded by the US and EU to overthrow the government of Alexander Lukashenko, but they have failed. Subir has failed to win the revolution because Alexander Lukashenko has a strong police and a strong army. So the revolution of Subir in Belarus was one of the most failed US-funded color revolution. And Oborona is also failed in Russia. Oborona is the Otpor branch in Russia to overthrow anti-imperialist regime and conservative regime of Vladimir Putin. According to Wikipedia, Oborona was an social democrat, but they have a factions. The faction of Oborona is split in four. They have liberal faction, not four, only three factions: liberal faction, social democrats faction, and libertarian faction. These three factions are split the Oborona to overthrow. These three factions has a platform to not split, as a platform to how they overthrow Putin. The social democrat platform is they want Russia to become a social democrats like in Scandinavia, Denmark, and Norway, but they want to overthrow Putin. But the liberal and libertarian faction in Oborona is very, very for capitalist. They want to privatize state-owned industry in Russia. And today, the color revolution is expanding. Like in Thailand. In Thailand, the US-funded Red Shirt movement supporting Thaksin Shinawatra, but they have failed. They have failed to overthrow the military regime. The Red Shirt movement in Thailand was funded by NED, the National Endowment Fund for Democracy. And Russia again, the Pussy Riot. The Pussy Riot is a feminist group that wants to overthrow Putin. Many people in Russia believes that Pussy Riot was a CIA funded to overthrow Vladimir Putin. So this is the reason why we should not support color revolution. They are funded by the United States government to create a neoliberal and Western democratic policy. Yes, they want to adopt a neoliberal policy to the world by creating this non-violent color revolution. You will see in Georgia again, Mikhail Saakashvili is shaking hands with George W. Bush because the US government is happy with Saakashvili because they overthrow the pro-Russian government of Edward Shevardnadze. Yes, the US is very happy because the US wants to overthrow pro-Russia and pro-China government. Like in Hong Kong today, the Hong Kong protest is funded by the US to make Hong Kong like Taiwan. The US wants Hong Kong to be an independent country like Taiwan. So this is the reason why we should not support this CIA US funded color revolution. So this is our topic. So see you in next episode and thank you for listening.